welcome to the Application Insider channel. I am very excited today to share an interview with Dietetic Internship Director Leslie Ballard of the North Oaks Medical Center Dietetic Internship, which is in Louisiana. She and I had a really great conversation about her background in dietetics, really important and useful information for people who are considering North Oaks or have never heard of it, but this might add it to their list of internships to consider, and some really useful tips for applying to North Oaks or anywhere, and just some really important reminders for you as a dietetics student going through this whole application experience and how many people there are that are in your corner and rooting for you. So keep watching, and I hope you enjoy the interview. All right, welcome to Leslie Ballard from the North Oaks Medical Center Dietetic Internship. Is that the full name?
Yes,
Okay.
that's correct.
Awesome. I'm excited to have you here. Let's just start off with, letting you introduce yourself and sharing why you chose dietetics and what brought you here.
Sure. Well, first of all, thank you for having me, Nicole. So we are a dietetic internship that's housed within an actual medical center. We're a pretty large medical facility. So our dietetic internship is housed within that medical facility. And I've been the internship director here for about 5 years. I started my dietetics journey at Louisiana State University and graduated there in 2005. From there, I think like many students at that time, especially, it's a different world in dietetics right now, but at that time, the match rate was about 50%.
Mm-hmm.
So myself and half my classmates did not match first round to a dietetic internship. And at that time in my life, I wasn't willing to move to accept a second round match to somewhere outside of my comfort zone. So I think something important for students to understand now, the match rate is so much higher than it used to be. We're closer to 70, 75% at this point. And if you're willing to move, your chances of matching in a second round match are great, really. They're fantastic. But at that time, that just wasn't my life. That wasn't financially available to me to pick up and move. So I, after graduating, I actually decided that my best course of action was to try and get a job at the place that I wanted to intern. So I somehow got fortunate enough to actually get a full-time job at North Oaks so that I could kind of get my foot in the door. And while I was working, I was what was called a community health educator at that time. And so I was going out into schools and businesses and just teaching really basic health type classes to the community. And at that time, I was able to complete my master's degree while doing that. And so I think, looking back on that journey, it took me to where I am now, right? I got my foot in the door and I proved myself to be a valuable employee, which then made me a much more desirable intern. So after working and getting my master's, I applied again to the internship and was matched that time and completed the internship. And then I actually ended up in the sports world of nutrition for several years. I worked as a sports dietitian and assistant fitness director for a pretty large health club here in Louisiana. So I lived and worked in the fitness industry for a number of years before coming back here and working now as the director at North Oaks.
Awesome. Mm-hmm. So I love how you stepped into North Oaks when you didn't first get an internship, and now you are like almost full circle. You're providing that opportunity for other students. That's really
It is full circle. And I always tell students that story, because some people might be embarrassed that they didn't match the first time. I'm not at all. It was a very competitive program at that time. At the time, North Oaks only took 3 students and it was the only local one in the area. So it was really the place I knew I needed to go. And I just thought, what can I do to get here? Yeah. And finding a job that would put me in the facility and let me have the opportunity to get to meet the dietitians and meet the people that were responsible for selecting interns was really important.
Awesome. That's so cool. All right. Well, that brings us to your role as the director. Tell everyone about your program, just some of the logistics, where you're located, what type of program, and the emphasis.
Sure. So the North Oaks program is located in Hammond, Louisiana. And for those of you that might not be familiar with this area, we're really actually, it's a great location because we're right near New Orleans and right near Baton Rouge. So those are two really large cities in Louisiana, and we're about 40 minutes outside of each. So I have students that usually will live either at home in one of those cities and commute to us, because Hammond's a pretty small town. There's a college here, so it's large enough that there's a university, but so we do have rotation sites all outside of the area. So we have rotation sites in both New Orleans and Baton Rouge. So students can kind of live in any of those areas and commute to us. Something that I think is really unique to our program is that we're part-time. So that means that students are only required to report to me or report to work 3 days a week. So they have to give 24 hours a week, which gives them tremendous flexibility in their life to either be pursuing a master's or working to support themselves, which so many students need to do.
Yes.
So we are part-time, which is kind of a cool attribute to our program.
Yeah, I can see that being a really big drawing point for students.
For
trying to balance everything.
It's huge. And we tend to get a lot of non-traditional students, people that maybe this is their, they've gone back to school as a second career choice and they can't just drop everything for a year and not work or raise their family or whatever it is that they need to do. So we really have that flexibility to allow people to still maintain some kind of normalcy in their life while completing this program.
Yeah, I think that's great. Would you say that's the main thing that sets your program apart from others, or is that kind of your highlighted uniqueness factor? What else can you say?
So I think it's pretty unique. I think, other things that set us apart is that we're relatively small. I take 9 students. And so being that it's small and being that it's part-time just allows a lot of flexibility within the year. I can really individualize the students' rotation schedule to meet their needs because we're small and we have that ability. So I think that sets us apart. We also have optional master's components. So students can be completing, there's 2 programs that we work with, but they can complete a master's of their choice really while doing our program because it's part-time.
Wow. So that gives them really a lot of options to.
There's a lot of options. Yes.
Very cool.
For sure.
Very cool. All right. So most of my listeners are dietetic students that are preparing for or thinking about the dietetic internship application process /
Yes.
So tell us how your program does that. What matches are you in? You said you've got 9 spots. Tell us any of those details you can.
Sure. So we participate in the spring match through DICUS. And we are accredited for 9 spots. Usually we fill all 9. This year I actually only have 7, just because I still want to only select the students that I think are going to be really successful. So we're not going to fill 9 spots if there aren't 9 great matches. So we have 7 this year, but typically we have 9. We participate in the spring match. By this time of year, I usually have students starting to call me and wanting to come meet with me or tour the facility. So we're actually, it's only the fall and I already have students calling.
Do you offer like in-person tours or?
For sure. Yes. Normally we would do an open house.
Okay.
But in the times that we're living in right now, that's just not an option at the moment. So, we have sort of a virtual open house posted on the website, but I definitely love it when students will call me and say, hey, can I schedule a time to either have a Zoom chat with you if they don't live locally, or if they do live locally and they want to come in and meet with me one-on-one and tour the facility. I'm always happy to do that. Awesome.
I think that's really great. It can give students a better feel for what their experience might be as they interact with you as a student, what it would be if they were an intern as well. So
definitely. And it helps kind of take some of the pressure off of what the actual interview is like, because they can already visualize the facility. They know where to park, they know where to go, they know who they're going to be meeting with. And it really takes some of that pressure off of them. And it helps me remember their face when I see the application.
Yes. I know when I was a director, like seeing someone face to face, for the listeners, seeing someone face to face or receiving questions it doesn't hold sway, but it's nice for a director when they
Mhm.
see an application, they're like, oh yeah, that person, we had a really good conversation on the
Mhm.
phone, or I remember they scheduled a tour. So those
Yes,
things can be helpful for the student and the director, both sides.
it's very helpful.
Yes. Okay. Um, when you are looking at applications, how many applications do you get in your matches?
Over the 5 years that I've done this, it has just varied tremendously. So I almost don't have a great answer. The first year I was here, we got about 60.
Okay.
Last year I got 20. So I
Big
think
range.
that I don't know what to expect. It's kind of been every number in between that. I do think, dietetics is kind of small at the moment, so I don't anticipate getting 60 applications this year. I just don't think that that's going to happen. But I would imagine somewhere between 20 and 40 would be a normal number.
Okay, awesome. When you are looking at applications, is there something that you can tell listeners like this sets an application apart for good or
Mhm.
for not good?
Sure, sure. Well, when I look at applications, obviously I'm going to look at GPA. I mean, that's going to give me an idea of what I'm about to learn about this student.
Yeah.
But I like to go and read the personal statement first, just because I think that that's the student's opportunity to really tell me who they are. Why are they applying to this program specifically? So I really love it when a student can give me a good idea of who they are as an applicant in their personal statement.
Yeah.
If they can explain things like why they want to become a dietitian and why are they applying to our small program in Hammond, Louisiana, what has attracted them to us, what can they offer us, and then something that I think a lot of students fail to do that is a really important opportunity is that in that personal statement you can explain anything in your GPA or in your grades that maybe isn't so desirable. So if you have a GPA that might be on the lower end of some of the other applicants, can you explain that? Can you say, look, I had a rough 2 semesters because I needed to work to support myself to pay for my tuition, or there was a death in the family and I needed to focus on family at that time. We're people too, and I'm going to read that and understand and have empathy and say, well, the student had a bad semester, but that shouldn't kick them out of the running. So I
Yeah.
think it's really important to take that opportunity to explain anything that you might be lacking in the application.
Mm-hmm. Okay, this question wasn't sent to you before, but the podcast episode that I just released today is about how to talk about GPA in your personal statement. And essentially it says your GPA by itself, whatever number it is not a strength or a weakness, but the contributing factors, like you said, a tough semester, situations outside of school that contributed to your GPA.
Yes.
Would you agree those are the strengths/weaknesses, not the number itself?
Absolutely. And if someone can explain that, because, I might have a 4.0 student, but they come into the interview and gosh, they just don't wow us in the interview. Maybe, yes, they have 4.0 because they've never had any other life experiences whatsoever except focusing on school. And that's not a bad thing, but it needs to be explained. Like I haven't had other experiences. I was focusing on my grades. That's why I'm so excited to start an internship so that I can gain that experience. Give me that explanation. Or on the other side, it can be a student with a 2.8, which really isn't, super stellar. But if they can say, I have worked 3 jobs to put myself through school and, the first 2 years, I just didn't know what I wanted to do. But as soon as I got into the dietetics, I made, above a 3.5 those last 2 years. All of those things, it's your opportunity to share that information with us.
Yes. So students, the GPA is simply part of the whole. That's all it is.
Absolutely.
Okay, awesome. So when you are, actually, I have another follow-up question I just remembered. Do you get a lot of applications from students out of state, or are most of your applications local to you?
I do get, it varies year to year. We do get about half and half from out of state versus in state. This year, the class that I have currently matched is a lot of out of state students. I think that students are drawn to us again because of the part-time nature, and that's so unique. And we're not one of the more expensive programs out there. So, cost of living in Hammond is really low, and then the cost of the internship isn't overwhelming. And so I think that we really appeal to some out-of-state students for that reason. And then a lot of my students will tell me, I don't know, I just wanted to live in New Orleans for a year, so why not? But we're about half and half usually. There's not a lot of undergraduate dietetics programs in Louisiana, so there aren't that many graduates really coming to us from in-state because it's not a big program here.
A lot of them. Okay. Cool. What is something that when you have looked at applications from your years of that, what is something that you wish applicants understood or did differently when applying to your program, like a common theme that you see often?
One thing I wish that they would do differently is not wait until the deadline to submit it. Because as a program director, as soon as you submit it, it gets sent to me. So I think that a lot of applicants think that, oh, they just, DICAS holds them and then sends them all together at one time, but that's not the case. As soon as it's submitted, I can see it. So it's so helpful if applications start coming in over the few weeks before the deadline, because it just gives us more time to really look at it and read it and spend more time on it versus getting 30 or 40 all in the same day on that deadline day, which I don't think students realize that we can see it as soon as they submit it. So that's one thing I wish that they knew, that they can submit early, and that does help us a little bit with reading through them more. And also just to be really mindful about bragging on yourself when you should. I think the students are afraid to really highlight, okay, I had this opportunity, and I had the opportunity to travel abroad for a semester, and I learned about the culture there, and I learned about the food there, and it really, sparked an interest in global nutrition for me, or whatever it may be. Utilize your time in the application to really set yourself apart and brag where it's needed. Because we love that. We love unique opportunities and experiences, and not everyone has that, but I see so many times a student will just put it somewhere small and it's not highlighted, and I think that they should highlight those things and take the opportunity to brag on themselves.
I think that's students can feel like they're really walking a fine line. Like, oh my gosh, I don't want to seem super over arrogant. But I think most of the times when they're like, oh my gosh, I totally just bragged and they're going to hate me. They're going to think and we're like, oh my gosh, you barely mentioned it. So,
and I think that that's just kind of a personality of dietitians that I've seen all, just through my years of practice, is that we don't speak up enough and say, use your voice enough. And so even as a student, give us that information. Tell us about yourself, the good, and, if there's some things that weren't so great, explain them too.
Yes. Awesome. All right. So moving one step beyond the application process, when a student matches to your program and is now an intern with North Oaks, what is something they can do that will help them be successful in your program?
Well, a positive attitude goes a long way. I think students are always so nervous of like, how do I prepare? How do I prepare? You're prepared. You've been through your undergraduate courses. Give yourself some credit. I know that they come in feeling like, I don't know anything and this is so scary. We're not going to let you fail, right? I mean, that is our goal, is to produce successful, competent dietitians. So all of those things that you're nervous about, can you calculate a tube feed? Well, I'm not going to ask you to do that on day one. So just come in being excited and eager and willing to learn and making the most of the opportunities that are in front of you. I always tell my students, this entire year is basically a job interview, because they're going to be introduced to so many connections all around the state, but then also with FNCE and other areas that they might be able to participate. Every dietitian that you come in contact with is either a potential reference for you for a job or a potential employer. So really putting your best foot forward every day, and just having that eager, positive attitude is the best thing I can ask for. We certainly don't hold it against anyone if maybe their undergrad program wasn't super heavy in clinical and math and all the calculations. Well, let me help you with that. That's what I'm here for. What I can't teach you is to be positive and respectful and professional, right? So we always look that people will come in and just have that great attitude and willingness to learn.
Yeah. Awesome. I love that you compare it to a job interview, because I said that as a director. So
all the time.
job interview you will ever have.
Yes. They meet, I mean, we have over 30 preceptors, so there are so many different areas that they can make those connections.
Yes, it's a really good mindset to have going in.
Mhm.
All right, I also want to ask you one thing I saw on your website of you let students, or at this point interns, they get to select a choice rotation. So you've got some set rotations, and I didn't tell you this, I was going to ask you this before, but talk a little bit about your choice rotation, because I think that's something that a lot of interns really, it might not be a finalizing deciding factor for them, but it's something that they look for in internships. So share that choice rotation option.
Sure. So it's something I added, I guess about 3 years ago, just because God, the world of dietetics is so broad, right? I mean, you know this as a professional. Dietitians can work in so many different areas, and we cannot possibly squeeze that in over the course of the year, right? So I can't expose them to every single thing that dietetics has to offer. So I decided to put that 3 week, so it's 3 weeks, basically, it's a block, and we usually do it around March. That the student can say, you know, this is the part of dietetics that I think I'm most interested in. I need to get more experience in that, so I'm going to seek it out. It might be a rotation that the interns have already completed and they want to spend more time in, or it might be something that we weren't able to offer that they're really interested in. You know, last year I had an intern who was pretty driven to work with eating disorders, and we do not have a rotation for that. So she went and spent 3 weeks at an inpatient eating disorder facility in Dallas. And so, you know, we helped her make that connection. We helped get the contract, everything signed so that she was able to go and do that. So that's just one example of what students can do, but they could really select a rotation of their choice. If they're from out of state and they want to go back home for 3 weeks and do a rotation there, by all means, like that's a great idea because that's probably where you're going to go back to work. So let's get you connected somewhere over there. So it's just 3 weeks that the interns can pick something of value to them so that they know that they've gotten all of the experiences out of the year that they wanted.
Yeah, awesome. I think that's great I like that it's later in the internship so they can think about things they've already worked on and if they want to spend more time. And then especially like you said, they have the option if they want to go back to their hometown where they will probably be establishing their career. So I think it's very much in support of the intern, which I really agree.
It is, and that's our goal. I mean, of course, I like to if I train you for a year, I want to keep you here and you work for us. But I know that that's not realistic for everybody. So you know, the point is that they have the experiences that they need to be successful in their career, and I think that that's just one other thing that adds to that.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, so with every episode of the Application Insider podcast, I kind of summarize things into an action item for listeners to take. So do you have an action item or a piece of advice that students can use today?
First, relax. I know most of my dietetic students are very type A and we want everything to be perfect. Yes. And of course, we love to see, you know, really well thought out applications. Relax though, you know, your professors, your advisors, they're not going to let you fail. They're going to help you to create a great application. And then once you get matched with an internship program, we're not going to let you fail either, right? We are here to guide you. And what most of my students tell me is that, you know, coming in, they were so nervous, but you know, their first 2 weeks are with me in orientation, and I think I'm probably not a very scary person. So, you know, I think that helps them gain some confidence, and we give you your rotation schedule right up front so you see what the entire year is going to look like on day one. And I think that puts their minds at ease as well. So I think it would be relax. You are more prepared than you think you are. You are a great applicant, even though you probably don't feel like it right now. And ask questions. Seek out the internship programs that you know are your top choices. Go meet with those directors, at least put in a phone call or an email to set yourself apart a little bit. Go meet with them, express your interest. When you're talking to them, really tell them why you're choosing their facility. Because I think I can tell really easily in an application or in an interview, if they make it to the interview process, that they're either just like we're one of 10 that they're looking at, or if I'm the internship that they have researched, they know they want to be here and they've worked hard to really establish a relationship with us. It really is kind of obvious usually if a student is got us up there as their number one choice and they've put the effort in to get here.
Yes, authenticity shows, even if you haven't done anything consciously to put in their authenticity.
Yes, so true.
Yeah.
So true.
Okay. Awesome. Well, please share with our listeners where they can find more about your program, your website, if you're on social media, if you've got virtual or in-person open houses coming up, let them know all about that.
Sure. So on our website, which is northoaks.org and / dietetic internships, so you can find the dietetic internships tab on our website. We have the virtual open house posted on the website, as long with there's like a little slideshow of things that interns have done in the past as well, so you can get an idea of what some of your rotations look like. So that is at the northoaks.org website. They can also feel free to contact me. I am Leslie Ballard, and my email is ballardl@northoaks.org. I'd be happy to answer any questions or talk to anybody over the phone or via email or Zoom if they have any interest or just, even want a little bit further advice. Even if you're not applying here, but you want some more advice, I'm happy to help.
Awesome. Yes, I love that you just said you're happy to help, because like you said before, with your advice to relax, a lot of students feel very alone in this whole process. And I don't think they realize how many people are actually in their corner rooting for them, people that they probably don't even know. I was rooting secretly for every application I saw that, like, if this program isn't a good fit for you, I hope you find the one that is. And I want you to have a good application. And I want everyone who, contact me with questions to get the information they need. And it sounds like you're very much the same way. We are
For sure. It's so funny you say that, Nicole, because after match, program directors can see the people that have applied, and if they match in there, I always go and look, and because my heart just hopes that everyone that applied to us, if they didn't match to us, I hope that they matched somewhere. So, we're all in this together. We're all looking to make the world of nutrition a better place. So feel free to reach out.
Yeah, awesome. All right. Well, thank you again, Leslie, for your time and for sharing this information with students. And I will have all of the links that you shared in the show notes for this episode, so people can reach out to you as they explore their options.
That sounds great. Thank you for having me, Nicole.
Thanks. You don't have to put every single thing in a podcast. Mostly like get students hyped up for the next step, which is contact this person.
Contact. I know. And when I was graduating back, a bunch of years ago, it never even occurred to me really to pick up the phone and reach out to those places that I was applying. I thought that would be intrusive and annoying to them to do. And now being on this side of it, I love it when a student will reach out and they want to come meet with me, because it just helps so much with understanding who they are before I even get their application.
Yeah. Or you see an application, this was me, I would see an application, I'd be like, wow, I wish you had emailed me about this thing that I'm seeing on your application, because I would have suggested you do it differently.
Yeah, absolutely. So. Absolutely. Explaining things, and they have that whole personal statement. You can explain so much.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. All right, I hope you enjoyed that interview with Leslie. She was so gracious to share her time and all of that information and advice for dietetic students. All of the links or information that was shared are included in the caption below, so go ahead and follow them. Connect with Leslie if you are interested in the North Oaks Dietetic Internship. And remember that with these insider insights, your application will stand out.